Next, we have one of our other founders of the Committee on the Present Danger, a man who I would say has been as influential as anyone in the recent history of our country. He is a voice for both a new American populism, a new American common sense. He was one of the founders of this Committee on the Present Danger, and someone I am very proud to call my friend. Steve Bannon is with us here today.
Boy, talk about two tough acts to follow. That's absolutely amazing, Chris, the call out that you gave. You probably didn't see it, or maybe you just recently did, but a few minutes ago, Bloomberg broke the story about the trade negotiations, and it looks like for some reason, the Americans, at least the way Bloomberg reports it, has put forward a proposal to kind of get into a two-step process. The old Chinese Communist Party, trap of doing something simple now and never getting to the main event later. Also this morning, I know this boggles the mind, but it's in the Bloomberg story, in quote, that it was the United States that decided to shift the beginnings of the next wave of tariffs from October 1st to October 15th, so that we could honor the celebration of the 70th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party's takeover of China. This is why what's happened here today and what the committee's been doing is so important. The American people don't have access to this information. This is not a conspiracy. This is in broad daylight. And I think what Chris just talked about is one of the most important things. The reason that this two-step process is being talked about is supposedly the administration and others on Capitol Hill in this city are worried about a potential recession before the 2020 election. There's a simple way to get the American economy to explode, and that is access to capital to American emerging growth companies. The single biggest problem every entrepreneur will tell you is the lack of bank financing and the lack of equity financing for emerging growth companies. Yet, as our esteemed colleagues have just walked us through in excruciating detail, we have unlimited financing for the Chinese Communist Party and their front organizations. And let's call it what it is. This is not about the Chinese people. The Chinese people are among the most hardworking, decent people on earth. If you want to see what the Chinese people can do with the rule of law in English common law, look at Hong Kong. They took a small fishing village and in 150 years built the third greatest capital market in the world with no resources but their own drive, determination, and grit, and the rule of law. Alibaba yesterday, Jack Ma stepped down after, 20 years, etc. And we now know he's a member of the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese Communist Party removed him. They've killed the head of HNA, their biggest financial corporation. The head of Bannon Insurance Company is in a prison. The Chinese Communist Party controls every company in China. They make the decisions. And what we're talking about, the Frankenstein monster that we have to destroy, is created by the West. It's created by our capital, and it's created by access to our technology, whether it's forced technology transfers, they stole it, or we sold it to them. As playing out in the streets of Hong Kong right now, these great young patriots, capitalists, who refuse to back down, patriots like in 1776 who will not back down to a tyranny, are fighting for the exact same thing the patriots in 1776 fought for. It is we, and you've seen today, and we're about to even get bigger with the Employment Savings Plan. We have financed all this. We've financed the surveillance technology. We have actually through the purchase of our bonds, our interest alone pays for the entire PLA. We've now allowed Huawei, which is a part of the PLA, it's not an associated company, we've allowed Huawei in throughout the entire West. If you didn't know the facts and understand how the system works, you would think this is some Kafkaesque nightmare. And why does it continue? It continues because there's a tremendous amount of money to be made. And the kids in Hong Kong are showing us every day as they get tear gassed and beaten and rubber bullets shot at them and the high pressure fire hoses and taken off and imprisoned. There's something more important than money. As a country, we're either going to stand for something or we're not. And one thing we can't stand for is to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the enslavement of the Chinese people. The priorities in this city are wrong because the priorities on Wall Street and corporate America are wrong. But where the priorities are not wrong is with working class and middle class people in this country. And that's why when this information gets put out there, you're going to see a sea change in this country about where political power lies. Donald Trump is president of the United States because of this issue. This issue is about the deindustrialization of our country. And working class people in the upper Midwest, they understand they don't need some big lecture. They don't need to sit in some Wall Street boardroom. They don't need to read the Financial Times. They understand the jobs got shipped to China and the opioid, the second opium war is being run on them in these towns in the Midwest. This is not a conspiracy. This is the way the system works. And what we have to do is go back to something very simple, which you laid out, Roger, you laid out. Hold people accountable. Where's the fiduciary responsibility of the elites in this country? The top accounting firms, the best law firms, the best investment banks, the best hedge funds. They all went to Harvard, they all went to Yale. I got my union card there, right? That's supposed to put you into some privileged class where you're supposed to have some obligations. The people with no accountability are the elites in this country. They have created that. And that is what the people in China, mainland China, are enslaved. The people in Hong Kong and Taiwan are about to be enslaved unless they win their fight. This is not going to go away. This is the defining issue of our time, and there are many fronts on this, from the economic war to the currency war to the capital markets war, and it's only going to come with further and further exposure. But here's what the elites in this country have to know. You're seeing now a rising up of working class people and now professionals that are not going to back down. They're not going to back down for one simple reason. The future not just of our country and the freedom of the Chinese people, but the peace and prosperity of the entire world is going to hinge on this. We are going through a dark valley like the 1930s. And just like in the 1930s, unless people of goodwill and common sense bind together to fight this, we're going to be sucked into something that's going to be very ugly and very nasty. And it's totally in our control to stop it. I want to thank the committee. I want to thank Hillsdale. The three-day event you had the other day was magnificent, and you're seeing this start to get traction. I want to thank all the professionals that have been here, and you're seeing this gain momentum every day. Members of the media, if you, this is the biggest story out there, and nobody covers it. Nobody covers it, and it's the reason that we can get into a situation of this. The reason that that the Chinese Communist Party wants a two-step process is that these tariffs, President Trump's engagement in this economic war is bringing them to their knees. And their sponsors on Wall Street don't like it. Their sponsors in corporate America don't like it. And that's why it's going to depend upon us to stand up and fight it. Thank you very much.